Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I am Linda Xiao, and I'm a senior strategist in the Fitch New York studio. I was actually lucky enough to kind of escape from the chaos of the city, and I'm working remotely right now from Charlotte, North Carolina. I hope all of you are staying safe and sane during this difficult time, and I just really want to thank you all for joining us in this extraordinary webinar series. I know that for a lot of you, for those of us, especially on the East Coast here, this started, I think, at 1 a.m. with Jane, our global CEO. So if you've been on since 1 a.m., I am truly impressed and blown away by your support. And since Jane kicked us off, we've moved across the world from Sydney to Hong Kong, Mumbai, you name it, and now we're here in the Americas. So my topic for today is talking about how we can enhance our digital lives. And this is really about how our expectations of digital have fundamentally changed since the start of the pandemic, and lessons that we can learn from what other countries are already doing to respond to this unprecedented and frankly almost forced adoption of digital across all age groups, both young and old alike. And we can start to look at how we can influence the brands that we all work with to adjust accordingly to this new normal. So without further ado, we can get started. So let's look at 3 global trends to find out how brands can adjust to this new expectation of digital from our consumers. To orientate everyone, I will be talking about 3 digital trends and 3 global digital trends, and each of them will have 2 examples to bring home the point, and then we'll talk about some takeaways at the very end. So the first trend here is about self-expression via digital avatars. So this trend is really about how, as our lives move more and more online, we are finding that for many people, these digital possessions, as opposed to physical ones, are becoming more popular than ever before. The lines between digital and physical are becoming increasingly blurred, and fashion, which we've all known to be long famous for its tendency to help us express ourselves, is now infiltrating these digital versions of ourselves. So I know that many of us heard about Animal Crossing nonstop. I know Gabe mentioned it earlier today. And for those of us who are not familiar, Animal Crossing is an innocent, almost monotonous game where you can escape to a deserted island and plant trees and go fishing. I, for one, am a very guilty Animal Crossing addict. I think I try to play nearly every day. I just try to get my miles in the game. But perhaps due to this kind of monotonous nature of the game, you escape to this deserted island, but you have this sense of regularity with daily rituals and daily tasks that can bring you back into the normality that you're missing from your lives at the moment. And it is now the #1 most popular game in the entire world, overthrowing even the likes of Fortnite. And what's interesting is, although this game was built for customization, it was kind of unexpected for it to become as famous in the fashion industry as it is today. So from the left here, you can see Supreme, and on the right, Vivienne Westwood. It's just amazing. No one is stopping these players from churning out these, if you call them like knockoff, designer or hype accessories in-game themselves. And there's even a Twitter account dedicated to showcasing these designer fashion outfits. It's cleverly named after the Dover Street Market, and it's called Nook Street Market. It's named after the in-game capitalist raccoon himself, Tom Nook. And it's so interesting that this kind of fashion mania has drawn so much attention that even luxury brands in real life, like Marc Jacobs and Valentino on the top here, are entering into these official partnerships with Nintendo to bring their own real coveted items and luxury items into the game itself. So this is just a really fascinating aspect of how it's infiltrated an industry that it's normally not paired with. And similarly here, we have this Chinese app here called Ada, which is named after Ada Lovelace, known to many of us as the first computer programmer. So it is aptly named. In this app, it's really fun because users can dress and surround their chosen avatars in luxury collections. You can buy all of these luxury collections from the 20 high-end brands that currently partner with Ada, and you can sign up for them officially in the game. And they're technically real items. You can pick from a series of 3D luxury interiors, like the Armani furniture here on the left, Or on the right here, you can look at a completely branded Dior space with a signature pattern and a VR digital panther on the prowl in the back. And the kick here is that these clothing collections that are released in the game actually mirror real life brand releases. So that means that if there are only 500 of a particular style of Prada jacket being made, only 500 will be available in Ada. So getting your hands on a coveted rare digital item gives you some serious kudos, even rivaling that of physical items. And you can take a series of screenshots or in-game shots to share on social media or on in-game messaging with your friends. And this is extremely popular in China right now. Okay, so all of this and so what? As you can see, gaming is really starting to have its moment here. Gone is the stereotype of gaming being reserved for loners in their mother's basements. And you can see that the gaming industry has really matured and is becoming increasingly mainstream. It has that power to turn the fashion world upside down, and who knows what other industries it can impact too. So we know that the insight here is that in times of struggle, people who have the means to do so are much more likely to spend their money and their time in ways that support their core values and self-esteem. So while we're all stuck indoors, there's kind of little opportunities for fashion-minded people to show off their latest hauls and their most prized possessions. And they're really missing out on these social cues that help remind them of who they are. So no matter the medium, we know that people need to continue to find ways to express themselves. So the lesson learned here is that brands should follow their audiences and go where they go. I encourage all of my fellow strategists to really dig deep into our consumers and our audiences. Go beyond the generic demographics and truly understand who these are as people, their interests, their habits, where they go online, where they go offline, their fears and motivations, and use those insights to propel you to help them enhance their experiences with your brands. So that's the first trend. And the next one we're moving on to is called Shopstreaming, which we fondly call the new retail power couple. And Shopstreaming is about this combined popularity of e-commerce and live streaming, creating this engaging and social online shopping mode where you can shop in real time directly from live streaming videos. And I know that Alistair mentioned this earlier. It's an exciting new format and it's particularly popular in China. And I'm interested to see where it may go and whether it may hit the West. So to look at some examples, first one here is Taobao and their partnership with local farmers. So many of you may have heard of Taobao before, but it's essentially China's Amazon, but with like much longer legs. It's actually the world's biggest e-commerce site right now, which is actually fascinating if you think about the entire platform is in Chinese and they cater mainly towards mainland China users. So just thinking about that small geographic location relative to the rest of the world, and they're the biggest e-commerce site in the world. So just particularly interesting. And what's fascinating is they were able to use their large following and their huge platform to help local farmers in this time of need. So through Shopstreaming, they've managed to create this really innovative way to keep farmers afloat, and for some, even make them more successful than ever. They launched this rural support program back in February, I believe, and it's really an amazing live streaming channel where they're offering this service free to all farmers and connecting them to their massive live streaming network, which has like 40 million people. And that's just the people who are on the live streaming Shopstreaming channel, not the people who use the entire app itself, which is hundreds of millions. And just to show you how crazy the numbers are, during the first 3 days of live streaming alone, over 15 million kilograms of farm fresh produce were sold on the app. And then another testament of just how mind-boggling the speed and popularity of it is, one single farm in China sold over 30,000 kilograms of just mangoes in under 2 minutes. That's completely insane. And it's just really showing like the power of this format. And it's just something really unattainable without digital. And you can see they're not just helping farmers adjust to this new time and finding them new ways of of surviving. But they're also creating new ways for delivery too. On the top right, you can see there's a drone. It's really interesting because they're now testing drones who will deliver your produce orders straight to your door. And this is really fascinating because in America, we assume that the fastest shipping is Amazon with 2-day shipping. And even now, Amazon is really struggling to maintain fulfillment, and they're taking weeks sometimes for delivery. But in China right now, they've kind of gone the other way, and it's faster than ever in some cases. You could even, depending on where you live, get your delivery in less than an hour. So that's just really interesting. And now we're going to look at another live streaming platform. There's an app that a lot of Chinese consumers are familiar with. It's called Pinduoduo. And basically, it is a bulk buying platform. So I could buy with a bunch of my family members and buy a lot of the same items in bulk, and then it's going to be much cheaper. Or you can buy with people you don't know with, and it's going to be just at that bulk selling price. So it's a great way to buy products and buy through e-commerce. It's actually become China's fastest growing e-commerce platform. And it's really caught on to this live streaming trend as well. Back in December, I believe, they launched their live streaming platforms, and the app itself has over 530 million users, and all of these users are able to shop from these shop streaming videos of vendors like showing off their wares, showing off the things that they've made, and then they're even partnering with amazing brands. And in this case, they partnered with 6 famous Chinese museums, like the Museum of the Forbidden City, and also our very own Met Museum here in New York. And this opened its virtual doors back in March. So you can see through the app itself, you can actually live stream and do a virtual tour of the entire space of the entire museum throughout the exhibits. And then all of the museum staff, who are of course in their appropriate protective gear, can show you around different display areas, guide you through the various collections, and give you a long history of all of the artifacts. And you can even comment on the live stream, like shown here at the bottom, and interact with them. You can ask them questions about the exhibits, go into detail about the history, and just completely interact with them on a completely new level. And the interesting thing here is on the right is how they make money, which is they can also, they've also put all of their products online, and there's an in-app option to buy this merchandise online from the gift shop. So it just kind of shows that there's just another way that these innovative Chinese platforms continue to enhance our lives, and they're trying to move more towards the West and get more people interested and make lives easier for everyone. These are just more ways that people can continue to enhance lives and save business models that frankly are currently suffering from all of the lockdown orders. So after looking at those 2 examples, we're going to go into the lesson learned. So what? And the insight here is that humans really have this resilient nature inherently. No matter the challenges, we always find ways to overcome and get what we want when we want it. No virus is going to stop that. And in the face of this global pandemic, people who are able to will continue to find ways to resume their daily lives, resume their daily activities, and carry on consuming, even if they have to come up with new ways to do so. Shop streaming as a format provides brands with this really exciting and interactive new way to shop that sits between e-commerce and new channels. So I really encourage us all to explore such new formats and continue to bring our brands and experiences to people in really fast and convenient, entertaining ways that enhance their lives. And this is just one of the many formats that I'm sure I don't know of. I'm sure there's countless ones out there. So I encourage us all to continue to push and explore and possibly even create completely new channels that make people's lives easier. So that's the second trend. So let's move on to number 3, which is about screens as a window to the world. And this is really about how, as our physical world continues to shrink in this time of lockdown, virtual getaways are becoming more accessible and far-reaching than ever before. And although certainly there were a lot of brands doing this before, the appreciation for digital's ability to really transport you into a completely different world is gaining more and more traction and more appreciation. So here is a great example from Airbnb, which I'm sure all of you know. So we know here that The insight behind this is consumers continue and will continue to crave respite and escape, whether it's from the uncertainty caused by the pandemic or from the stress of the daily grind in our normal lives. And I bet all of you are itching to go on your next vacation to get that respite. I'm eagerly planning my next one too. But in the meantime, while we can't physically travel, Airbnb has created these online experiences to entertain us from the comforts of our small, cramped apartments. And they launched this back in April, and it's basically a way for their virtual tourists to travel via Zoom to any of their host locations anywhere in the world. You can do like anything from meeting the dogs of Chernobyl or learning to make pastries with a professional baker in Sweden. So not only is this a great way to try to keep our travel bugs contained, but it's also a great way to give local hosts another source of income while their usual source of income is closed. And so this is just fascinating because Airbnb managed to find a way to connect their global community, both their hosts and their tourists, through their own created online platform, which fosters a sense of human connection despite all the physical barriers that are going on right now. And the great thing is it's also keeping its brand really top of mind for consumers so that when the pandemic does lift, these consumers will continue to choose Airbnb as their top travel brand because they know they've been there the entire time through the pandemic. They didn't stop. And who knows, they may even, Airbnb may even continue to keep these online experiences alongside their physical ones as we continue to move through and look at the blurring lines between physical and digital. So finally, I want to talk about this amazing Fitch project. And this is Level Kids. It's a couple years old now, but this project really had the foresight to predict the opportunity to blur the lines between physical and digital to create an extraordinary experience. So Level Kids is the first department store of its kind in Dubai. It's basically a luxury child's toy store. And it's really tapping into a child's imagination and their natural urge to explore and play. So this is a really enchanting shopping universe where you can take your child through this kind of ethereal journey through all of the elements, from an underwater themed ground floor, go through a land of magical trees, all the way to the top floor to a blue sky filled with clouds. So rather than talk about it, I will play a short film, very short film, to let it kind of speak for itself. So that was a very short video just to show you the magic of Level Kids. And I think the lesson learned here is that, as you can see, it's not just about, I know the topic is about enhancing our digital lives, but it's not about digital for digital's sake or about forgetting the physical world altogether. It's really about enhancing people's lives by transporting them to amazing experiences that are physically impossible and yet impossible without the physical elements. And despite rumors of a retail apocalypse and the doom and gloom of the virus pandemic on closing physical stores, we know that retail is not going to die. We know that boring retail is long dead, but the exciting experiences that we can help brands bring to all of our consumers are just beginning. And I would encourage us all to continue to find ways to innovate in ways that enhance people's daily lives. And so, as a summary, the 3 lessons that we learned today. Number 1, follow your audience, listen to them, follow them where they go to their platforms and really truly understand where they are and why they're there. Number 2 is explore new formats, continue to look for ways to make people's lives easier, find new formats that will make shopping and consuming culture just all the more exciting and easier in order to bring your brand to their customers. And number 3, perhaps the most important, and if I haven't said it enough times today, it is to enhance people's lives. We know that regardless of brand, consumers have really set that bar of expectation for experiences really, really high, and they expect us to meet them there. But we should continue to push ourselves to go beyond their wildest dreams. That is how we here at Landor&FITCH will continue to use design to create these kind of extraordinary brand transformations. And we really hope that it inspires everyone else as well.